everything that went down in the courtroom this morning related to the verdicts for Sean Diddy Combs. I want to thank all three of you for being with me. William Corman, criminal defense attorney, who was with me from the very beginning this morning, sticking on great legal analysis. Mina Sewat-Lona from SiriusXM, thank you for being with us. And of course, Elizabeth Milner, I know you're going to be on the live stream with Jesse Weber, which will be starting here just at the bottom of the hour. So get your questions into the chat here on YouTube. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. There's an update here. He was found guilty on two different charges, and it looks like Diddy might be going home today. They're actually, I think, they're also applying for him to go home today and then wait for the sentencing. They only find him guilty on the prostitution stuff. That's about it. I'm gonna pull a document on the screen right now so we can catch up. So welcome guys. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications. My name is Ola, coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. So this is a breaking news. I just have a free time, so I wanted to go live and just maybe we can chat up a little bit here. All right, so this is what we're looking at. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. This is what we're looking at on the screen. You can see here, count 1, racketeering conspiracy, not guilty. I pulled this from CNN. Okay, not guilty. That's the major one that they were trying to get him on. Okay. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, pertains to victim 1, Cassie Ventura, not guilty. Well, the first one, count 1, racketeering conspiracy, is the reason why this was federal in the first place. It was carrying a maximum of life in prison. But they were not able to find him guilty on that, to convict him on that. So he's free on that. Count 2, anything that has to do with Cassie, was carrying a minimum of 15 years, maximum life in prison, not guilty. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution, pertains to victim 1, Cassie Ventura, and commercial sex worker. They found him guilty on that. Maximum on that is 10 years. Okay. Count 4, sex trafficking by force, fraud, coercion, pertains to victim 2, Jane, allegedly 50 Cent's baby moms. Not guilty. Minimum 15 years on that one. Maximum life in prison. It's not guilty on that. Count 5, transportation to engage in prostitution, pertains to victim 2, Jane, aka allegedly 50 Cent's baby mother, and commercial sex workers. Guilty. Maximum 10 years. So they only found him guilty on the prostitution stuff. Okay. All right. That's what we're dealing with. Marriott, how you doing? Brother Loves Great Escape. Yeah. So I don't even know how to feel about it, but I guess good for him. But I guess this is a slap on the wrist for everybody. So maybe all those guys, maybe they can course correct a little bit. I don't know if we can ever remove evil from our society, but maybe people can learn every now and then. All right, so I want to do a quick catch up on some of the timelines, some of the stuff that CNN has in the timeline over the past 1 hour or so. The most recent updates here, I'm going to read the most recent update. It says Cassie Ventura's lawyer, that was 31 minutes ago. Cassie Ventura's lawyer, this case proved that change is long overdue. Cassie Ventura paved the way for a jury to find Sean Diddy Combs guilty on some of the counts against him, her lawyer Doug Wigdor said in a statement. And I quote, "This entire criminal process started when our client, Cassie, had the courage to file her civil complaint on November 2023. Although the jury did not find Combs guilty of sex trafficking Cassie beyond a reasonable doubt, She paved the way for a jury to find him guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. All right. Okay, so there's a post here that describe his described his behavior after the verdict. It says before he was led out of the courtroom out by marshals, Sean Diddy Combs knelt down in front of his chair and bowed his head like he was praying. When he stood up, Combs faced the gallery and clapped, prompting the gallery to clap and cheer. Combs' attorneys all exchanged hugs as the gallery continued to cheer for them. Combs faced his family, his face beaming. He said, "Thank you. Love you, Mom. I love you. I love you. I love you." All right. His family and friends erupted into applause. Some family members wiped tears from their eyes. After Combs left the courtroom, the family section started chanting "Dream Team" to the lawyers who slapped each other on the back and embraced. Defense attorney Tenny Garagos hugged members of Combs' family with tears rolling down her cheeks. Oh, all right. I guess it's better than having to deal with maximum life in prison, right? The racketeering. So he escaped that. So he beat. The breaking news is that Diddy has managed to beat the RICO case against the federal, what do you call them? Prosecutor. All right. Interesting times to live in. Probably 5 years and he's out. Yeah. But now they're applying for him to go home while he waits for sentencing. So what are the chances he will go in? Where is Missy? I want to hear her opinion. It'd be lovely. It'd be lovely to hear Missy's opinion. Alaye Baje, he will still go to that prison. Oh. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting that, the way these cases work is that they have to prove beyond reasonable doubt, right? And they weren't able to do that. The moment they started going back and forth yesterday on the RICO case, I kind of suspected that he might get away with some of that, or the main ones, or at least because if they weren't able to get him on the count 1, which is the RICO case, yeah, it was basically, the rest of it is nothing as compared to what he was facing. So you can imagine why he would kneel down and be thank you and say, "Thank you, Mom, love you, Mom, love you, Mom," right? So some people are saying he might serve 2 years. Consecutive 2 years for the 2 counts that he was found guilty on. That's what they're saying. But let me see if I can play some of this updates here that some of these people are saying. Let me see what MTR is saying. Let's see. I'm just going by what's in my feed. Okay. Let's have it.
One of these again. Hold on, let me put this up on the screen. Will this work? If I got $100 super check, I was gonna.
Hey, Chiyo, good to see you.
Shout out to Marsa Laker with the $100 super chat. I apologize if I got that the spelling of that incorrect. AV incoming. Word. Let me bring AV up on the screen real quick. Hopefully I can get this this correct. You guys like the lighting? Y'all didn't know. Y'all didn't know I could get it popping like this with the lights in the background. But shout out my brother, wholeheartedly and humbly appreciate you.
In Angels, whatever website. He ain't profiting from it. So if there's no profit, how is this sex trafficking? If he ain't making any money out of her vagina, that's not sex trafficking. He just took her from one area to the next to get that peace leave blown out and pissed down her throat. Period.
Jesus Christ.
Period. She a pee-pee guzzler. I mean, so she like to guzzle pee-pee in her mouth. Hey, that's what she want to do. It sounds like she wants to do that.
All right, so quick question.
That is one of the reasons why that.
Quick question to you, Mario. Mario, did you ever believe Cassie? Or if at all, to what extent, right? Did you ever believe her? I suspect the jury didn't think it was a criminal enterprise. Most people think of organized crime and mafia for RICO, not a music label. Exactly. And especially with evidence everywhere that he's actually produced lots of value, business value in the music industry. It'll be hard, right, to prove that. Obviously, it made it hard for them to prove that. The guideline is 10 years max for each. The judge has room to sentence. Well, again, considering where they are coming from, right? Considering, yeah, for each one is 10, maximum 10 years. Yeah. Considering the gravity of the count one, I don't know how they measure that, but I heard some people trying to make a case on CNN for 2 years consecutive, you know, not concurrent, but consecutive. I don't know if that's the language you guys use, but yeah. So I don't know. Let me see if I can find something a little bit cleaner than this guy's here. Let me see what CNBC is saying. And I'm also going to go back to the timeline in a second to see the last hour that led to this breaking news. Okay, they said we'll be right back. These people, where are they? Okay, let me see. Okay, found one.
Sure, because you're not there, but I wonder, where's Diddy right now? Like, physically, where is he? And where are the jurors? What has happened to them?
So the jurors have been discharged. The judge had said to them, go back to the jury room. I have to deal with some legal issues with the lawyers, and then I'm going to come back and speak to you. And he actually told them, you don't have to speak to the press. I actually advise you not to speak to the press.
I don't like when they say that, actually.
I agree.
In this day and age, I'm telling you, I would be on their side.
I know,
people,
but
it's hard to stay anonymous,
I know.
and people are crazy.
I know, but don't you want to know what happened in that
No, I don't think we have to
deliberation
know.
room?
I think, again, in this day and age, people are too nuts to have you stand at a podium, put your name out there. People will dox you and find out your address and where your kids work.
Has been acquitted of all charges except 2: transportation to engage in prostitution, the Mann Act violations. This is a massive win for Sean Combs. There's no other way to say it. When he was facing racketeering conspiracy and up to life in prison, and now, oh, by the way, sex trafficking, a minimum of 15 years in prison, acquitted of those charges,
sex trafficking for Cassie?
with respect to
No.
Cassie,
Jane,
Verifine,
definitely
and
no.
Jane, and now has been convicted of
What does that mean in layman language?
prostitution. Yes, they are federal crimes. Yes, the prosecution may be even advocating for 20 years in prison. Each one has...
Are you trying to say they were willing participants? Is that what you were trying to say? Mario, let me know.
That could be highly unlikely. There is no, our understanding...
Let me drop the link for anybody who wants to come up. I'm only here for another 40 minutes or so.
In other words, he is looking at a totally different reality than he was at the beginning of the day. And now we are trying to understand what happens next. There is a consideration today about whether he will be released. Will he be released pending sentencing, which might happen about 70 or 90 days from now? And that will come out today. We're going to get a little bit of logistics about what's happening. And we're also going to try to figure out what the possible sentence could mean and what this verdict means. You have to imagine this is a loss for the prosecution. This is a loss for the Southern District of New York, who compiled a case about him. The accusation was operating a criminal enterprise for years. The jury did not believe it.
They didn't believe
that. We have
that.
a statement right now that came in from the United States Attorney.
Some of the jury were probably big fans of the Bad Boy Records era and all that kind of stuff. So they're like, wait, what? Okay, yeah. Sorry, no.
The verdict, this just came in, quote, sex crimes deeply scar victims, and the disturbing reality is that sex crimes are all too present in many aspects of our society. Victims endure gut-wrenching physical and mental abuse, leading to lasting trauma.
Let me ask a question. Is it, do you think they might want to file an appeal? Is that even a feasible thing in this kind of situation, or is it different? Educate me, please. Let's see here. Oh, Marriott came up on stage. Marriott, talk to me. How are you doing, lady? Good afternoon. You can unmute.
Hi, I'm OP. How are you?
Hi. We should celebrate this. This is a big deal.
No, I've just watched this case way too much, and I think
Well, welcome.
Yes, good to be on your platform. I don't think I've been here before.
Ever, like 50 years. You know, I only do that when people come up for the first time.
Okay, so I won't get this again. Fine.
No, it's over, yeah. But welcome. I appreciate you for coming up. So talk to me. What's on your mind on this case with this breaking news?
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. So you're asking if I thought
Well, first of all, the question I just asked last is this. Is filing an appeal feasible here, or they will tell him it's crazy, or is even of a thing at all for a federal case like this, for those 2 counts that he was found guilty on? I can't hear you anymore. I don't know if you can still hear me.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Yeah. I know you were saying that some people were saying that he was going to get maybe 2 years.
2 years.
Yes, consecutively.
Yeah. Before we get to that, right?
Yeah.
My question for you is an appeal feasible here?
I mean, he can definitely file an appeal.
Okay.
But
for the 2 counts.
But even his strategy would be trying to lay low, be a Jesus baby, follow the rules. I mean, it just makes sense to appeal because he doesn't want to go to prison. Even if it's going to be like what they call those ones, the minimum security prison. I assume he doesn't want to go to prison, so they'll want to appeal still. But overall, I just think it wasn't a good. It was really poor storytelling from the prosecutors because for me, even me, I feel like I understand more than the average person. For some of it, I was just really struggling. So for the Cassie one, for example, with the sex trafficking,
did the call come in or something?
Maybe no, I'm here.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so with the S trafficking, where it's supposed to be, S trafficking because of coercion, threats of violence, all these things that they were saying. The defense did a good job showing so many instances where she's ignoring or
all the signs.
Yeah, but she's actively, enthusiastically wanting to do
participating.
Yes. So if I mean, they did have instances where there was some kind of the hotel, the one with her mom. But there were so many text messages where she's willing. And then they had videos too where she was willing. She was the one who was contacting the workers. She was the one who was paying the workers. So they did a great job just creating that okay, yes, you're giving me this example. This person is a violent person and this person is holding her career, whatever album over her head. But she's also the person who's kind of competing with his other girlfriend. They were able to show that she was willing to do things because she was jealous that he was giving other people more attention. So she was willing to go further to prove her worth to him. So they did a great job. So even with that, I was like, I could see the prosecutor's argument, but they made a good argument either way. And then with Madam Jane.
You remember that 50 Jane? Cents. Yeah, aka 50 Cent baby mother, yeah.
Do you remember that Jane's lawyer is being paid by Diddy up until the trial?
Right, exactly.
Was being paid by Diddy up until the trial. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how serious are you guys? Are you serious?
Are you serious? And then hers is different from Cassie's in that her S trafficking was not for coercion. Her S trafficking was based on fraud. And when I kept reading the transcripts of their argument, the fraud was that he was going to spend more time with her, but he wasn't spending time with her. Please, how does that convince a regular lay person?
She was in a full-blown relationship with him, basically, even outside of the FOs.
How is the fraud that he promised to spend time with me, but he didn't? I just wanted to spend more time with him. I wanted to decorate the room and make it lovely. How is that fraud?
Yeah.
So So for the S trafficking cases, from the beginning, I just wasn't convinced it was going to work because the Cassie one, I thought it could go 50-50, maybe because of her career thing. but the Jane one was never going to work. She was just a girlfriend.
And by the way, all the sex workers were speaking in favor of Diddy. They were all saying, no, I didn't see. They were like all their testimonies were basically speaking in favor of him, that they didn't see any signs of any wrongdoing or people were coerced or anything like that.
Exactly. They were saying, oh no, they seemed like they wanted it. I think only one person talked about some kind of violence with
yeah, there's one person that's saying he's still gonna sue. Yeah.
But again, because they had so many instances of this, I know she got in young, so she must have been, impressionable and whatnot. But she stayed for so long, and she talked about how much they enjoyed doing this and pleasing him. So how can you convince a jury that is trafficking if people are expressing that they enjoyed something? And then, which part was? And then with the Jane lady, there was a point where he wanted to break up with Jane, and he said he wanted to get rid of her. And then she asked for a certain amount. I think she asked, I don't know whether it was 400 or what. She asked for a huge amount of money to go away. Again, if you're being trafficked,
you were a victim.
What kind of victim is this? So it just seemed like he had a harem of women, and all these women were trying to outdo themselves to please him. It didn't sound like they were being trafficked for fraud. Again, Cassie's own could have gone either way, but just because she was so enthusiastic. With the Rico one, that's the one that I thought that they were going to be able to prove, because the bribery one to me was obvious. He clearly
bribery.
Yeah.
I know the what is it, arson, the car blowing up and all that kind of stuff, right? The beating up people.
Car one was tenuous because they couldn't really prove that he did it. They just were giving us circumstantial, Kid Cudi talked to him, and was it Capricorn Clark said that he's at the house, whatever. So I think that's why they didn't give direction to the jury on that. But I thought the two obvious ones were the bribery and then the distribution of substances, because remember his assistant guy, the Oyinbo guy that was on there, he was saying, I think his accountant was on a chat where he approved money to be like a huge sum of money to pay for the substances. And then so many people, including all the two women, were saying he gave them so the fact that the jury came back and said, if the person is asking for it, does that still mean that there was distribution? I'm like, oh my God, they're doubting that, because once they're saying that, it means for them, from a layman's perspective, they're questioning, how is it distribution if you are the person that is asking for the substance? So,
right. It doesn't make sense. And he wasn't making money. He wasn't making money from it. He was basically he was feeding them.
Yes.
Yeah. He was financing their lifestyle. He was financing the whole thing. And of course, most people speaking about this are just talking about his freaky lifestyle, and unfortunately, that's not gonna help. With the
there was too much focus on I think for most people who were following, like you said, the focus was so much on the
freak offs.
On that part, and they were ignoring all the other parts. But even the thing that they were charging him with, they said that they had weapons that were sawed off, like the serial number. I'm like, wait, you're not charging him with things that are like, you're not charging him. Why are you also focused on the salacious part of his life? But I think ultimately, if they couldn't,
it also seems like most of the videos they played during the trial were just the freak offs. And it sounded like he was showing most of these girls just willingly participating.
Exactly, because I saw that when they were towards the end, where they were bringing officials of the court to explain the text messages, and so they played videos, and it was basically them showing these women doing whatever. How do you it's so hard to, and for people people are going to put themselves in the position of this guy. If I'm a rich guy and I have a broke, poor girlfriend, and I'm flying her from place to place, and she's choosing to enjoy the freaky life with me, you're telling me that I'm committing RICO level offenses, or I'm a ex trafficker. Like it's a leap.
Yeah, it's a big leap.
I don't think they did it. I don't want to criticize them because I know it must have taken a lot of work to get to this point, but I think their storytelling wasn't very good. Like in the closing argument, one of the ladies that was at the lady that delivered the closing argument, 4 hours.
Yeah. If I was in the courtroom and I saw it, right, and I saw what has been described thus far as the conduct of Cassie, in combination with watching those videos, maybe because of the video or the hotel lobby video, maybe I wouldn't laugh. But if I don't see the hotel lobby video, I might just bust out laughing. Like, are you kidding me?
Are you serious? Exactly.
Like you were participating. The only part that I would be empathetic about is the part we saw of him beating her down.
Yes.
You know, that part, everybody, even including himself, of course, the whole world condemned that. But that's just one of how many days in the trial, you know?
Exactly. And that came at the beginning. I know that their case was really messed up because of her pregnancy, because I'm sure they would have wanted to put her last, probably, for the impact, but they had to put her quickly because of her pregnancy. And then one of the other victims didn't show up, or they couldn't find her, Gina that TMZ found yesterday magically at Whole Foods.
Really?
Yes.
I missed that part. Oh, so Gina, I think I saw something about that. Yeah.
So she had given an interview on Tasha K years ago, talking about the violence that she experienced. Basically,
she's like an Asian chick, like an Asian girl.
They're all Asian, aren't they?
That's true. Don't mind me.
All the F people are Asian.
God have mercy.
So he had stomped on her, and she said that she lost a baby, and the violence experience. The only person that ever helped her was the bodyguard. So I think she was supposed to be, because initially they were supposed to have, I think, 5 victims. She was supposed to be one of the victims. So maybe the way they could have done, they wanted to do it was, they have Don Richards with the forced labor, Capricorn with the forced labor. They had Madame Jane there, whatever her case was, and then had Gina, showing that this person has a history of doing all these manipulation and violence to make you do things that you don't want to do, and then Cassie like the bomb at the end. But they had to rearrange. But then Gina just disappeared.
So why would someone like Gina disappear? What do you think that was?
MOP. Money's involved. I would think that money's involved.
Money for hand, back for ground.
Don't you think Jane will go back? Because the way Jane's testimony was, if you were paying attention to Jane's testimony,
she is completely broken. But even further than that, even Cassie, I want to be careful with this, but Cassie with that guy Alex, who used to be personal Alex Fine, who used to be a personal trainer. I wonder what kind of relationship they have. Because now they're having babies. They have a baby or 2 babies now, right?
They have 3.
3 babies. That's additional life pressure. Considering the history, this guy was hired to be her trainer while she was still with Diddy, right? And after this guy was also in courtroom, I think 1 or 2 days, was also in the courtroom. And because, like I always say, these human beings are human beings, right? You just have to, when Yoruba people say, you just have to wait for the right type of crisis before all this trauma rises back to the surface in weird, twisted ways,
Yeah.
So I always wonder what kind of, because ordinary people like us, sometimes I say like this friendship thing will help you sustain bad times, because bad times will come in one shape, form or the other. How much more people with this level of weird past?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So I'm wondering, because this boy, I'm calling him a boy, he does not know anything about life. He was a personal trainer and he's taking on this woman, right? I don't know. Like the one couple I used to look at as like they might be strong. just off of, just looking at so many other factors. I think it's about to be their end. Will Smith and Jada, because again, it's one thing to be strong as a couple, as individuals, right? It's another thing to have this cloud of energy, of negativity around.
So negative, so toxic.
Many things. So it's easy to say I will ignore it and I will just, but human beings, there's only so much you have in terms of the strength to sustain such levels of negativity.
Yeah, like how long? Because I'm assuming he's like the rock, because he had to be the rock to help her, stand after coming out of that situation.
Yes.
How long can he be the rock for? Plus 3 kids, plus now us finding out, because he used to threaten that he used to tweet at Diddy to attack him sometimes, but he never really said what it is. But now the whole world knows the things that she endured and the things that she did willingly, and the fact that she went back and still
pee in the
was
mouth
intimate
willingly
with him after getting with her boyfriend. Like, it's the fact that we know makes it 10 times even worse.
Yes, exactly.
So I understand what you're saying.
Willingly receiving pee in the mouth.
Oh, I couldn't get over that. I could not get. Oh my god.
So this guy is supposed to wake up every day right next to this woman and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm the captain savior. You know what? I saved you." And then she's, because look at this, right? She's going to continue to live in the, "Oh, I'm appreciative of you for being a supportive person," right?
Forever.
What about the days that is offensive? Will she be able to maintain that, or be like, "Wait, I'm supposed to be held hostage because you helped me"? These are the kind of dynamic that plays out in this type of relationship, right? Now she has to walk a straight line for the rest of her life and not be offensive to this guy, because this guy can turn around and say, "Hey, remember I saved you." Or it might not be said out in words. It might be just attitude, life, like all these unspoken words that will basically inflict their relationship.
But how can they whether, like, I know they said they're in therapy, whatever, but how do they manage the aftermath of?
Look at my face.
I'm looking at your face now. So you really think it's inevitable that they're going to split?
No, they will face crisis. That's every relationship will face crisis. Do they have enough well, first of all, what do they want? Second of all, do they have enough in them to sustain what they want? Considering that we're human beings. Hi, Biba. Considering that we're human beings, right? So everybody will get offended. Everybody will offend each other at some point in time. And some of the worst of our memories tend to rise to the surface when that happens. So are you able to suppress it and just be like, okay, we're in this for the long run? Because that's what every successful relationship I've had to do at one point or the other. I say, okay, yeah, we're in this for the long run. That's the whole point of the commitment. Commitment is not just for when everything is rosy and it's just me and you, Bonnie and Clyde against the world, right? Those are all easy until it's now you against me, seemingly in the moment. But if it extends over 2 hours, over a 2-day silent treatment moment, what kind of voices will come in people's head when the devil starts to say, "Remember this girl, you did all this thing for her and she's still not appreciative. All the people in the manosphere were right. You are the simp of the decade, of the century." So imagine the kind of insecurity that this will speak into a man's mind. Now let's go back to her. Imagine her feeling like, yeah, you helped me, but now I'm supposed to be at your mercy for the rest of my life. Imagine the kind of hostage she will be in. Combine that with the type of personality she has to be in that situation where somebody is peeing in her mouth. She's a free spirit person, right? Will she stand there and be like, "Yeah, you could just continue to beat me over my head"? Emotionally speaking, she's probably like, "No, to hell with you." She's probably that kind of girl, like, "No, I'm free, I'm leaving you." So considering all of this, what are the chances they will last? Almost none. I'm sorry, especially with children.
I hope they last, because I really, they've been through so much.
I hope so too.
Oh my goodness. Like, this has been, like, I can't even imagine for her having to remember all these incidents and then talk about it in a crowd of people, strangers.
Yeah.
So and then with the baby, it's just.
Can she run to if that guy he's just upset for a few days? Alex, fine, just upset for a few days in the house, right? Can she withstand not? Can she go to mommy and say, "Mommy, he's been silent for a few days," right? Will she be able to do that, or she'll be like, "I don't want it to seem like we're going through issues"?
Oh, like an image of perfection, or like they're a strong couple.
Protecting him, protecting her image, but she's actually going through it. How long can she withstand that? If she can withstand these kind of things that are inevitable, then they'll be fine. If not, no. It's to come down crumbling. It's just a matter of time. You know, if they can withstand it, if they're the unicorn of the decade, sure.
Unicorn of the decade.
Yeah, if they can.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
this other one has nothing to lose. 50 Cent is already dragging her. Yeah.
MOP. If Diddy texts Jane to come back, Jane is coming back.
She's coming running. Diddy is still paying her bills.
Yeah, because even in her testimony, it didn't sound like she. I actually think she was the op that. I actually think the substance mule guy. And Jane were Diddy ops that he placed into the prosecution's path, because they actually didn't come there and make him look that bad.
Yeah,
because Jane was talking about, I love him, because I love him. I just want to spend I want to spend time with him.
Yes, and they were both hired by the girls, right?
That's right. And then every time they I think the only time that she got upset was when she talked about the bags that he bought her as opposed to the one that he bought to Young Miami. Every other time she was okay.
I know, right? So she was jealous.
She was jealous, exactly. And the one time that they had a physical altercation, she admitted that she started it. So she never actually painted him as a monster type. It was just that I just wanted to spend more time with him. And then it was only when Cassie filed her lawsuit that she claimed that she realized
that
what
she was
had
a
been
victim.
going through. But guess who was with him when he was arrested trying to do another FO? It was her.
It was her. Yeah.
It was like, so she was never.
I think I remember a picture too in Miami, them walking down the streets in Miami when shortly before he came to New York to be arrested.
Jane, they need to investigate. Jane was a plant that he put there by himself. And I think the only thing that he actually did wrong was when she tried to imply that he was bi-curious, because I read that he wasn't happy, like he had a visible reaction to that because the lawyers asked her that. And then with the substance mule guy, when he was on cross-examination, they said, okay, so out of your whole job, what percentage was FOs? Quickly, he said 1%. Please, if you are somebody who actually is there for the prosecution, would you say 1% of your whole job is FOs? Because he really did give examples of the things that he has to do, clean up, prepping, all these things. So I really think that he planted all these people there to undermine the prosecution's case.
Would you say because again, usually the feds, they have a 98% conviction rate. Would you say the fact that they didn't convict this guy, considering how big he is and his footprints everywhere, would you say the fact that they took on that case in addition to that is a sign of witch hunt of some type?
Oh, you mean the narrative of they're trying to take out a black man?
Oh, black man, or he offended somebody, maybe something like that. Maybe beyond just being a black man.
Oh, you're thinking, considering how weak the case was?
Yes.
It's not a wild conspiracy, because maybe it was this. Maybe we're thinking maybe this is like a kind of warning shot to him, kind of thing.
Like a tap on the hand.
This case is a big conversation in my own household, and I think it's just because of how explosive Cassie's case was. And it just sounded so ridiculous that somebody could be blowing up cars on the streets of the United States and everybody would just be folding their arms. Like, they just could not do anything. It would just look like you are in a lawless nation, and this person could be committing violence and paying paying hotels to disappear the tape so that they can report to the police, and blowing up cars. And then what's that producer? That one accused him of actually powering somebody in a room. And when the case when the story came in the news, it was not in his building. So I think they did it for it was like a public interest type case. It just looked bad that this was happening, and everybody would just fold their arms and pretend like they didn't see that. So I felt like they had to bring something against him to oh no, we have a handle on this kind of thing. That's why they brought those cases and they linked it to, and because of the reaction everybody had to what Cassie said she had experienced, it's probably why they linked it to the S trafficking type cases. So I don't think it's like a warning shot or they were trying to take him down. I think it looked embarrassing that somebody had this much power to commit this much violence, and they couldn't pretend.
So even at that, they couldn't wait and make sure that the case is tight before they.
I wish they did. And the fact that they had this six women, all white prosecutors, I'm like, really? You couldn't find any? There were no black women in the office to put on the prosecution's, because the optics just didn't seem right. Because once they announced their team, then the defense started looking for a black man to put on there because they wanted they wanted something to counter that. Look at all these white lawyers trying to convict this black successful self-made billionaire person. So they could have waited probably, but
at least to make sure the case is tight. It looks like there was a rush, and to me, it's starting because conspiracy theory is not something I buy into very quickly. So, but now it started to look like all the people who shouted conspiracy all the while, or a witch hunt, like they might have been right. Because now I'm looking back, I'm like, wait, this case is really just that weak.
He was weak. I mean, Jane.
This is one of them on the screen. This is one of the sex
Is that
workers.
the Punisher?
This is the Rico. His name is Rico.
I'm so sorry.
They said so they said you sell dick, like you were hired by Diddy, and then he goes, no, hired by Jane Doe. He corrected it even on this show. So imagine what they were doing, because they don't want to play, and they were all offered immunity, by the way, So hold tight there, Marriott.
Sure.
Onibe, talk to me. Onibe says she's disappointed.
I can't talk. I just come back from school run. Are they vex?
You're vexing. Why?
I think for me, personally, I agree with what you said regarding the prosecution. I think that they should have taken their time because, like I said, most of the witnesses, I'm sorry, but your prosecution, you have unlimited resources. I don't understand why you didn't do your due diligence in terms of what these witnesses were going to say. Those that were going to talk on the prosecution side, because I didn't watch all of it, but when you got people, some of the witnesses saying, having this Stockholm syndrome of I love him, it doesn't look good
in the court.
These are witnesses that are supposed to be showing him as the disgusting, despicable criminal that he is. And all you've shown is basically this fan base of a stream of women that were totally in love with him. So that doesn't look good in terms of the jury. So for me, I'm disappointed with the prosecution because yes, there was the Cassie video. They should have not allowed emotion and what media was saying. They should have been very methodical and very much 1 + 1 + 2 kind of thing. And even if it was a case of taking till next year or the year after to have a case against Diddy, a strong case by the way, and not basically being reactionary in terms of doing this, of arresting him and doing the case, things would have been a lot more different. I think I'm very, very disappointed because they have a 90-something% or 98% conviction rate, and because of emotions and because of the Cassie video and other stuff, they've basically kind of basically scored an own goal by rushing to try and trial this when they should have taken their time and cross all the T's, all the dots. Because how can you have witnesses like Rico and whatever, and the stuff they were saying was like, it didn't make any sense. Are they working for the defense or are they working for the prosecution?
Yeah.
What I'm saying, even Cassie, yeah, I just think some of the things she said didn't help matters by going on about how she loved. You don't need to be saying all that. Just say what you did. You know, they should have had a, you know, I've done jury service in the UK, and they talked to you about, be very, you know, it was an assault case, and they talked to you about what you should say, no more or no less. Stick to the facts. And I think they met a lot of the stuff they said. They were talking from the point of view of their emotions as of when it happened, and as of how they fend, especially with Cassie. Cassie saying that she doesn't have any beef with him. I'm paraphrasing, and there was nothing in what she said.
Still loves him.
Yeah, how are you talking like that? I'm sorry, sorry to get annoyed, but how are you talking like that for someone that's working for the prosecution, and you don't expect to have the result we're having today? Because you're making yourself seem as if, like you said,
because the defense is looking for reasonable doubt.
He wasn't that bad, because she's still chatting some nonsense about still loving him. So when you're talking about love and emotions, the jury, as stupid as they are, and I think they're very stupid, are going to now believe that, oh, beyond reasonable doubt, it wasn't that bad. And that's why we have the result we have. I think all the blame should be on the prosecution, because you should be talking to your people, talking to the people that are going to be spoken to. Because I had a barrister, we call them barristers in the UK, that spoke to me, and basically talked me through what was going to happen in the case. And based on my testimony and other testimony, the person that was accused of assault was convicted. But I think there's definitely a fault with the prosecution. And that's why I find it very disappointing, because they have unlimited resources. You're not just like anybody. You are like the prosecution for the US.
Yes.
You know, you have unlimited resources.
The greatest of them, with all the resources.
And it seems like something that a amateur would do. So for me, I am very, very disappointed.
Oh, yeah. Who's Jane? She is asking, who's Jane? You want to answer that?
I don't really know much about it. Maybe the other lady can speak about it, because
Marriott.
In and out. I'm Marriott.
Honey, babe.
Baby girl. I just come back from school run. I'm disappointed, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard what I just think the prosecution, like I said, should not have rushed this case. And because they rushed it, and like I said, you know, in terms of the people that were on the Cassie, and you know, look, they were just, the way they were talking is like, I don't know, the prosecution didn't have control of the narrative that they were putting out, and this is the reason why we had the result we have. It is what it is, mate. Hopefully they're giving the maximum, because I think that someone like him has no business like being on the streets. The RICO, I still think was, personally for me, the RICO did make sense, because it was a criminal enterprise. People to me,
they had to prove that Bad Boy Enterprise and all the associated whatever were running a criminal criminal
because
enterprise.
the thing is, the man was doing, let me finish. The man was doing all his, I hope you don't get demonetized. He was doing all his drugs and everything. You're basically, anytime she's doing her freaks off, you get your nurse or your doctor to give her saline or whatever to now, you know, make sure she's hydrated for the next freak off. Isn't that a criminal exercise? I have a business, and if I'm using most of my staff to participate in illegal stuff, then that's a criminal enterprise. Am I wrong? That's how I see it legally.
Yeah.
If he's getting his security to drag her back
over a period of time.
Now, if you're dragging security to drag her back into the car, you know, she's going out with friends, whatever, they're dragging her back. He's getting her friend and dragging her over the balcony. How is that not a criminal enterprise? Because you're using your staff instead of focusing on music to terrorize this lady. How is that not a criminal enterprise? How is that not RICO?
Yeah, but the thing is that, remember, the defense is, or what you call a prosecutor, the defense will be looking for you to prove reasonable doubt, right? So if there's any ounce of any doubt, considering, well, you consider the fact that this record label has been operating for almost 30 years with so much value in the marketplace, actual marketplace of his activities in the entertainment industry. If you have one little small boy just come and deliver drug that were used for their personal consumption at a freak-off party, you're gonna have to prove that he's making money from that, you know.
But the thing is,
So
you don't have to
He
prove,
doesn't have to
you don't
make
have to
money
prove-
from
you have
it.
to make money to prove RICO. Because from what I remember, listen, I'm in the little UK in Essex. We've been hearing about Diddy for a long time. The pow regarding J-Lo, the pow with one producer, and you know, hearing stories from 50 Cent and everything. Not like I know it. I mean, the people have been hearing about this stuff, and I'm just nobody.
So
there's definitely people in the entertainment business that knew about it. And even if we can't prove it, there's definitely a high percentage in terms of it where he was doing RICO. He was using his company to do criminal stuff. There's no way anyone can tell me different.
So far, Marriott, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But so far, my understanding of this is this. This is obviously the reason why they say you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt is not because there's no absolutes. They have to prove it, and if there's any ounce of doubt, the jury might bend towards his favor, right? So if he's been making all this money, not that it can be personal use, but the fact that he's not bringing any significant income or running things at a significant level to the point where there will be doubt. Help me explain that, because I don't know. I'm probably butchering it, right? But the fact that it's not significant enough for them is what we're talking about here. Marriott, correct me.
Okay, I'll try. So I'll answer Chinye's question first. So Jane is Jane Doe. She was supposed to testify under anonymity as one of the victims, but her baby daddy outed her as Daphne Joy, who is 50 Cent's baby mama that he has been fighting with for years. So that's who Jane is for Chinye. And then for MOP, for the RICO, it doesn't have to make money.
Okay.
They just have to prove that these illegal activities were done for profit. Profit could be, in this case, is to protect the image of Diddy Enterprises, to protect the image of Diddy the rapper. So they didn't have to make money, but it's something that is very difficult for regular people to understand. Again, because people associate RICO, organized crime, laws with mafia, with gang, where they're selling substances and making money. So they did get a profit. Like from my perspective, I agree with Honey Babe. There were illegal stuff done using company funds. Like when he paid for the substances, for example, and his accountant or whoever that lady was, Robin lady, approved it. That was, for me, that was the proof. When they used the NDA that they used when they paid for the video with the hotel.
Right. All of that can be linked to profit.
To me, that was the link. But we don't know if, because nobody from the jury has spoken yet. So we don't know if their issue was that they didn't think it was an enterprise. Because if you remember when they were doing the closing arguments, the lawyer said, "What enterprise? He's the only person charged. There are no co-conspirators." Obviously, there are going to be. The way they worded it, I think there are co-conspirators. The KK lady and I think the bodyguard were possibly co-conspirators. Because they didn't charge anybody. In his closing argument, he said, "Who are these co-conspirators? Nobody else was charged. There is no enterprise. This was all personal stuff." So that creates doubt for the people who are already thinking, actually, where is the enterprise in this? Because in their mind, they're probably thinking money. He wasn't really making any money from this, like you're saying. But the profit was to protect.
But it was making money indirectly, basically. It's linked to profit.
Was to protect the brand Diddy, because if that video from the Intercontinental ever came out, whatever deal that he had with Ciroc and all those liquor companies would have been gone. But by paying for that
protecting
video,
the enterprise with all those
so that was
criminal
the profit
activities
from my perspective. And then whether it was an enterprise, whether you're saying that they most of their work is music, yes, but if you are using,
but if you're protecting that empire with the criminal activity, it becomes that.
And you're using company property to do those illegal things. That's where the enterprise would have been created. But I think
that makes sense.
Like I said, it's either they didn't think it was an enterprise or they couldn't agree on a second offense. Because remember, one of their notes to the judge was about the distribution of the substances thing, where they said, if the person asked for it, is that distribution? That means they were actually considering an offense to add to get, because they need two for RICO. They need two offenses out of the list to be able to convict the person of RICO. So if they're questioning whether there's the possession and distribution. If they're questioning it, so that's probably where their drawback was, and they thought, we're not really sure. And like you had mentioned earlier, it's not a probability thing. It's a beyond reasonable doubt.
Beyond reasonable
you don't
doubt.
want to send a fellow person, your neighbor, to jail
if there's any doubt
that you're not entirely sure. If you have any doubt,
any reasonable doubt,
to acquit them. Which is why the Cassie one, they had to be acquitted, because I'm not really sure if you're in love with the guy. Were you trafficked? With Jane, where she's talking about how she loves him and she just wanted him to pay attention to her. Were you really trafficked? And then with the Rico one, where all of them are expressing confusion about whether if the person is asking for the substance, are they distributing? So if there's doubt, they made the right decision. I know we're criticizing them, but this doesn't fall on the jury. It falls on the prosecution. Their storytelling was bad. You don't need 4 hours.
Because it's their job to make the jury believe that there's no reasonable doubt.
And make it simple, because we regular people, our brain is not functioning at your school, Harvard, whatever. We just need simple, if this is this, because in the direction it should be, if this is this, then you have to find this person guilty. So if you're spending 4 hours doing shalaye, one of the things I learned from your channel is when you start to shalaye, problem tiwa. Once they are doing 4 hour shalaye, come on. But the defense people, they were short and they made it funny. Like they were trying to make the jury was laughing at some of the comments, because they made it seem this is so ridiculous.
Like, are you serious?
An enterprise when nobody else was charged.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for me, the oddest thing with this trial, that the person that I thought was the strongest witness was a lady called Capricorn Clark, who was with him for maybe a decade.
Yes, I know, Spanish
the one that he
like
blackballed. Because everybody else, like Honey Babe is saying, they all came back. She
kept coming back for decades.
Mia is the lady that was called Mia, another Jane Doe, claiming that he aired her multiple times, but you're coming back to say you love him, you wish him the best, he's the greatest, blah blah blah. How can somebody you multiple times in different cities, on a plane, in LA, in this, and then years after you've left the company, you are still licking his bum? Explain this to me. It was just
something you just said that I need to highlight that really makes sense is that it is not a probability thing. It's a reasonable doubt thing, meaning it's not necessarily a matter of factual, it's a matter of belief. You have to make them believe that if your storytelling is poor and they can unanimously say definitely this guy is guilty, then there's problems. That's very important for me to highlight here, because oftentimes we have some of us very smart, intelligent people who think it's a matter of right and wrong. He could be wrong and still be acquitted. That's an example of what we're looking at today. This is real life.
I still think that basically the prosecution either have to go back to the drawing board. Maybe they can still go back and come back with Rico, but I do agree.
Why? Why, Honey Babe?
Let me land. Because for me personally, I hate this guy fully. I just think he's a despicable person. But yes, it's not about feelings. I just think I personally think he's done everything. But like you said, the jury, the prosecution failed to show between unreasonable doubt that he has done all these things. I personally blame the prosecution 100%. They rushed it. They got a whole bunch of women that had Stockholm syndrome. They got a whole bunch of women where even with the feelings and everything, they could have directed them to answer questions in a way that they didn't show that they're still in love with him.
That's their job.
That is what is doing my nuts, because it seems that Cassie said a lot of things, KK said a lot of things, and J-Do said a lot of things, but that's all been swept under the carpet because of their emotions. And I don't get why the prosecutions didn't deal with that and directed them in the way that they should, based on my own experience of being called to a court case.
It wasn't good enough.
It wasn't good enough, not for the United States of America, versus Diddy. It's quite shocking, and I think it sets a precedence for a lot. America's already messed up, no disrespect here, but I think it sets a lot of precedence in terms of wow, you can get away with this if you have the money and the power. That's what I think the narrative is going to be from this takeaway of this verdict. And it's really, really sad. Again, you know, I blame the prosecution. They really need to step back and think about the way they present stuff.
Is that a possibility, Marriott, to go back to the drawing table and recharge him? Is that
for the same offenses? No.
No, it's done.
But the same offenses with the same no, this is done. Unless they had some other new things.
Yeah.
Like additional crime, a separate thing.
Maybe what the producer was saying. Sorry.
I'm thinking of the RICO. That's my main thing. I still believe he did have a criminal enterprise, and maybe the mistake is maybe adding other people to the RICO charge, because I do agree. If you're telling me RICO, where's the other people? Is it just me that did RICO? Maybe they can look at that again and maybe really do their due diligence and maybe come back. I don't know. Is there double jeopardy? I don't know in America. I don't know the legal process in the US, but I still think that the stuff he's being convicted on is the less charges. And I personally wanted him to go to jail for life. That was what I wanted. I'm all about emotions. I know I'm not being logical, but I cannot stand the man. I think he's a despicable person. I really do. The things he has done, the things he has got away with, the things that he's got away with today, it's despicable.
Let's hope the I know MOP doesn't think that the judge is going to go hard on him, but let's hope
no, me, I have no opinion on that. I'm actually learning a lot. It's the first time I will follow this kind of case very closely. I know life principles so far is applicable and it's been proven, but you know how they play out, you know, at this level is my first time of paying attention to it. It's just again another sign that everyone is responsible to protect themselves, your household, your children, and that's the best you can do, because to protect all of us, the job of the institution is to protect all of us together. So to protect all of us together, they have to do the reasonable doubt thing. They can't just go by by our feelings. They have to go by, if they have to go the other way around, as like, if we see any reasonable doubt, the same way we will protect you, we cannot throw this guy in jail for life if there's any reasonable doubt that he did not commit this offense. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the RICO is a big one. They should have made sure that everything aligned. And maybe they will also learn from this as well, that if we're not charging another person's, people are going to be quoting this case for decades and centuries to come, that hey, you can't charge RICO if you're just going to charge one single human being. It will be obvious. It's a witch hunt. Witch hunt doesn't mean he was innocent or an innocent person. We know that, we all know now that Diddy is a freak. we all know. Yeah, go ahead.
I think for me, what I feel that's going to happen is that I have boys. I don't have any girls, but like I said, I'm a woman, and I feel for a lot of girls where I know not everyone's going to be in that particular case of being in that situation where Cassie is. We don't want a situation that because of this court case and the narrative that's being set, a lot of women that are in situations where they've been essayed and there's a position of power, they're being dismissed, because there was a lot of victim shaming in Cassie's and a lot of the women. And I didn't really like that, because I just think that just because you stay in a relationship for 10 years, well, and all that stuff happens, doesn't mean that you consent to half of it. Doesn't mean that you want to be in it. Now, honey babe is honey babe. I'm talking about myself in the third person. I'm a different breed. I know what I can take and I know what I can't take, but I'm always giving people grace. There's a lot of women that are not as strong as me and not as strong as a lot of women. And especially with the age thing, 19 and how old he was, especially with the power dynamics of his money, especially with the fact that he knew all her, he was, threatening her family, blah, blah, blah. We know the case. I think people need to be very, very careful and have grace, because like I said, there's going to be situations where this can happen to people close to us. And I think people need to give grace and understand that, yes, just because you, honey babe, myself, I'm talking about myself, would never be in that situation. someone else would. So I think we need to definitely give grace. And there was a lot of victim shaming, which I was quite disappointed about, because a lot of the victim shaming was from women. And I think that you need to have empathy for other women. Even if you believe that, oh, I would never be in that situation. I can say that myself. But just because I'm a different breed of person doesn't mean that someone else that is... Cassie was very young. She, very introverted, dealing with a 30-something, 40-something-year-old man. The power dynamics is it's enough to affect your self-esteem. So it's very easy to say, why didn't she run away and all that stuff? And I think that's what I'm focusing on, that let's give grace on a case-by-case basis when it comes to things like this.
Case by case.
And not judge people. Oh, she's a liar, she's not a victim, she's not clean, she's not this. And I will say this, sorry, even if you consent, I can consent to something today, but tomorrow I can say no. So I think there needs to be this understanding, critical thinking in terms of consent, because I get the impression that if you consent to something today, that means tomorrow that I cannot not consent. That's not how it works. So I think people need to understand that consent is consent, and consent can be taken back. Because there's a lack of understanding when it comes to things like this.
Yeah. We need to keep pounding that. Let me answer the question that I asked earlier on, because I did a quick research here on if he can be recharged in case they found additional information, right? So in the US, Sean Diddy Combs was acquitted of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges, but convicted of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Regarding your question about recharging after an acquittal, the legal principle of double jeopardy protected by the 5th Amendment of the US Constitution generally prevents a person from being tried twice for the same offense after an acquittal. This is a fundamental protection in the American legal system. Even if there was a mistake in the original trial leading to an acquittal, the prosecution typically cannot recharge the person for the same crime. The US Supreme Court has held that an acquittal is final, no matter how erroneous, and cannot be reviewed or appealed by the government. The idea is to protect individuals from the immense power and resources of the government, preventing them from being worn down by repeated attempts to convict. There are very limited exceptions to double jeopardy, such as in cases of a hung jury or certain types of mistrials, or if the defendant successfully appeals their conviction, in which case they can be retried on the charges they were convicted of, but not those they were acquitted of. Some jurisdictions have also introduced narrow exceptions for serious offenses where there is compelling new evidence, such as DNA evidence or an admission of guilt, but these are rare and typically involve a high legal bar to overcome the double jeopardy protection. In Diddy's case, since he was acquitted of the sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges, he cannot be recharged for those specific offenses, even if new evidence were to emerge or if there was an alleged mistake in the trial. He does, however, still face sentencing for the 2 prostitution-related conviction. What do you say to that, Onibe?
I kind of guessed about the double jeopardy. I did mention it before.
You did,
so thanks for clarifying that. I mean, I need to realize that it's not about my feelings, and I do agree that it's the barometer between 0 and 100. It doesn't work like that in the legal system. It's reasonable doubt, and if there's even 0.5% of reasonable doubt, then they have to acquit him, which they did. I'm living in my emotions right now, but I'm being logical at the same time and realizing that they probably did the right. If that's what they thought, if they were deadlocked, if that's what they believed, that they couldn't convict him because they didn't believe it, I have to respect their decision. Hopefully the judge on the 2 cases that he has, the 2 counts that he has been convicted, the full
maximum consecutive 20 years.
I beg them. They should just I beg the judge to give him the full term. I have no sympathy for such a man, especially with someone that has, is it 4 girls? Is it 2 girls or 4 girls?
I don't know. His daughters?
Daughters,
I think he has 4.
Yeah, to have 4 daughters, and you're this type of monster, shame on you. That's all I would say. And I hope he's watching this. Let him come look for me in the UK. Rubbish and nonsense. The way that people are acting.
No, he's gonna become a Jesus baby now, according to Marriott.
People are saying that the jury is scared. How scared of what? I beg. You know what? You just have to have God on your side. And there's certain things here that leave that fear. Yes, it's powerful, but I think that personally for me, a lot of the people that actually, spoke in the prosecution, I think they were scared and just thought, you know what? That's why they messed things up for the prosecution, but that's a different story. I think that I hope he rots in jail. And I'm being nice.
Okay, hold tight. Hold tight. Marriott, what do you have to say about that? The double jeopardy acquitter thing?
Yeah, like they can't bring up any of these anymore. Like I actually thought, because yesterday when they were, dilly-dallying and they said they weren't agreeing, if they had gone on a hung jury, I thought, oh, you know what, they can bring this case back. But if it's not hung and they're acquitting him, I mean, that's the end of that. Maybe there will be other new things that'll come up later, but highly doubt it. You know what could happen though? Some things that happen is that when you charge somebody with so many offenses and then they get off on the other ones, and the judge actually believes that this guy
they will get him maximum on the other ones.
They might try to get him up there with the ones that he was guilty of. So, but it does sound like the judge is very reasonable. So I don't think he would be one of those judges that will go, you know what, I'm going to give you 10 years. It just sounds like he's going to give him something small. 5 years.
Not 2 years as some people are suggesting, back to back.
It could be two. But it just seems like altogether it will be not that bad. And then they'll add the time served because he's been in jail for like a year now almost, and then that will count as well. So it probably won't be as bad. I think my only issue is I worry for the witnesses that were scared of this asshole because he can still terrorize them. And then also, I know Natu was saying that people will avoid him, but the way the world is set up right now, with all these angry men with microphones, they're not gonna avoid this guy.
Because a lot of people were speculating that he might just end up in the same cell with R. Kelly, who is serving 19 years concurrent as a speak.
And that one was convicted of RICO and all the other things. So
he was convicted of child porn. And
trafficking minors,
enticement charges. Yeah.
But they used RICO on him as well.
They did? They did. Yeah,
they used RICO on him as well. Because the RICO is the way to catch all, right? It's such a clever way to catch.
So, Sister Marriott, how did they catch R. Kelly with RICO and not catch this diddler?
Because his whole business is that for the last 30 years.
Come on, excuse me. R. Kelly.
I know now.
R. Kelly's music is great.
I love R. Kelly. Don't get me started on that. We're on YouTube. So let me be careful because once you like R. Kelly, you can get cancelled.
Yes, you can for sure get cancelled. You have to listen to it in secret.
Anyway, I mean, I really hope that it's more than 2 years. I think he should get the maximum. And the fact that you're saying that a lot of people are scared, the judge should be, should read the room. For the fact that people are saying in circles that, you know what, if he is, if he gets, maybe 2 years and less, he's back on the street and people are scared. That should be.
No. I think he's going to lay low. That's my suspicion. I think he's.
So?
I think I agree with somebody that said this is a tap on the hand. I think powers that be really wanted to take him down. And I think they're still going to get him, like what Marriott is saying right now. But it's just that they couldn't make it too obvious that this was a witch hunt. In addition to him, obviously, being a freak that he is and a criminal, in my opinion. But in addition to that, he had been moving so recklessly that they could get him like this. They had too much on him. But I think P. Diddy has a lot on other powerful people.
That's the thing.
Some people are suggesting that Donald Trump might actually pardon him because he has a lot on Donald Trump. He will. Donald Trump was around him a lot in New York City.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So this is another angle we haven't explored.
At the Trump hotels. Some of the FOs were at Trump hotels.
At the Trump hotel.
Yeah.
No way.
Where they were damaging properties and rebuilding properties back up, all in the name of freak offs. So trust me, it's larger than we can. That's what I would say. This thing is larger than we can imagine as regular people, So yeah, but they couldn't make it too obvious because if they make it too obvious, the power is always with the people and the people will call them out on it. So they're gonna get him on this one now and say, okay, all right, let's tone it down. Let's tone it down. There's not. What are you guys doing? There's not enough evidence. Are you guys stupid or something? How would you bring in a bunch of people that are speaking for him? You're not gonna get it with. Okay, get him on the prostitution stuff. Okay, and make sure he gets maximum. I want him away for the next 20 years. Okay, I don't want to see him in the scene. Things like that, So, it sounds like a movie, but that's probably what we're dealing with here. Beyond, because it's not just him in those freak off parties. Oh, there are big people that have ended up in those parties. You remember what's the name of the one that committed the ultimate inside of the jail a few years ago? The one that has an island.
Yeah.
That has a lot on Bill Gates and all these people were on those islands.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Can I just say something as we round, like the most ironic thing that I took from the trial was he fired the twins, the girls. He fired their nanny because she got pregnant out of wedlock. He said he doesn't want that type of person to be an influence on his girls. I laughed so hard by myself. I just thought, wow. Excuse me, you are a devil incarnate, you are a deviant, and this is where you draw the line. All your children are out of wedlock.
Yeah, he's not been married to one of the mothers, so I don't know what pulling the kettle black. Every child has been born out of. He didn't marry Kim at all. She was married before to Albie Shaw, as you know, and the child is Quincy. But from what I know, that's pulling the kettle black. Young Pikininko, nonsense.
Let's take about 3 minutes to listen to this one saying, and then I get you guys last words, and then we'll call it a day here. All right.
To say it was a huge celebrity you love, that they said, oh, such and such is on the tape, then all of a sudden it would be about such and such. It would be about Diddy. They wanted the focus to stay on Diddy. So Maverick is definitely correct that they definitely did. The prosecution never wanted this to steer away from Diddy, and one way of doing that was not to name the other celebrities pictured in the video.
This is live, by the way.
They did capture. I also wanted to give a clarification point from yesterday, because I think Tasha and I were both confused about how the RICO was being listed with the predicate charges. So I spoke with attorney Lisa, who had been doing some stuff with Page 6. The reason, so we thought it was a mistake for them to continue to have arson and kidnapping as one of the predicate charges of the RICO, because there was a letter, remember, sent to the prosecutor's office, from the prosecutor's office saying, that they should be removed. So the correction is they removed attempted arson, attempted kidnapping. They never removed arson and so there's a difference between
they wanted to get him
and actually doing it. So
which is the conspiracy of under the RICO.
It was explained to me that it was still on the sheet because only the attempted was removed, not the actual charges. But if you think about it, this is why this case is such a landmark case, because let's just walk through the predicate charges in RICO really quick.
Okay.
Right? I'm a law professor, so this is my educational moment. RICO, they only had to find two crimes listed on this list to find the RICO. So we had kidnapping, arson, bribery, witness tampering, forced labor, sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution.
They need two.
Right?
Okay.
So they only had to find that he committed 2 of these things within 10 years to get the RICO. The fact that the jury found him not guilty of the RICO says they did not find kidnapping. They did not find arson. They did not find bribery. They did not find witness tampering. They did not find forced labor. They did not find sex trafficking. They did not, as Tasha predicted, find drug distribution. They didn't find any of that. The only thing they found was transportation and prostitution. So only if they had found one other thing,
one more,
in addition to transportation and prostitution, would have got the RICO.
And that's why it's just not gonna stick. It's not gonna stick.
All right. So I'm gonna leave that at that. Let me take your last word, Honey Babe. What do you think about that? That's some information.
It's very interesting what she said. I would love to be on a fly on the wall to see and to hear the jury when they're deliberating. For that lady to say that they didn't find any of the things just in order to agree to RICO, is quite disturbing to me.
And they removed some over the past. The prosecutor removed some.
This is again going back to the prosecution. They kept moving the goalpost. You're adding stuff, you're removing some, and that doesn't help at all. I mean. I mean, they found him guilty of transportation to engage in pro. To me, that would be a connection to the sex trafficking, isn't it? You get what I'm saying? If you're literally carrying someone, transportation, is that not part of sex trafficking?
I mean, well, if they kept this, for example, if they kept the attempted arson on it, attempted arson could have been easier to nail him on to make it double.
That was Kid Cudi, who was dating Cassie at the time.
Right.
That was attempted arson. Why didn't they put that back on the table? I mean, it seems like a bunch of amateurs that whether they get sacked after this, I don't know. But questions need to be asked.
Or they have a bigger agenda.
Yeah, or they have a bigger agenda. I don't know. But I think you're probably right, because you just said they've had 98% conviction. Why did they mess up in this trial? It seems intentional to me.
Yeah.
As you said, maybe there's a bigger picture here.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, interesting take.
Maybe we'll come back another time. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
Yeah, talk soon. All right. Talk to me, Marriott. What's your take on that one and your last words?
MOP, you're trying to convince me about this conspiracy.
I
said you're beginning to convince me about this conspiracy of tap on the wrist, because you're right.
Before you say that, in general, I always thought that there are powers bigger than us, beyond our right and wrongs and morals and all this nonsense and our feelings. I always know that, but this one is coming close to like an obvious one. That's why I'm driving at right now. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like the lady in the video said, they already convicted him of the transportation. When they said it was 2 to 5, verdict out, I thought it has to be not guilty on 2 to 5, because if there was even one, it's so easy to find another one. The bribery one was such an obvious one. But if they convicted on transportation and they didn't think that there was bribery, like it was just maybe not the distribution, but they didn't think there was bribery. Wow, So, and like you said, it's easier to prove an attempt of a crime than to prove the actual crime. Yes. So if they didn't give the direction, if the direction was we don't want to think about attempted arson, which I think was provable. It was the arson that I didn't think was provable, because how do they know that Diddy did it?
They had to prove it. Yeah, they had to prove it.
And then the attempted kidnapping of Capricorn, because one of the things they showed was, but you kept going home every day. If they kept you for 5 days and kept going every day, how are you kidnapped? But if they stuck to the attempted, it's an easier leap for these people to add that to the list. So it seems like a comedy of errors that people at that level would not make.
Yeah.
So maybe there is something involved.
Knowing their records, it sounds like there was an intentional error that was made.
Yes. Overall, again, the prosecution could have done such a much better job with crafting their stories better, but ultimately, I think the jury did this. They made the right decision.
Yeah. You're not gonna be a stranger now, right? What are your favorite topics that I should cover to get you to come up in the future?
I don't want to do all this man-woman conversation. Like, it fries my brain cells.
I hear you. I don't blame you.
But don't worry, no, I won't be a stranger. Don't be a stranger.
To confess, to be honest with you, anytime I skip a day sometimes, that's me getting tired of it too. But we have to keep coming back.
Yeah. You're doing a great job. I really enjoy your channel, and I learn a lot from your channel as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Talk soon. All right, guys. That was that. We did that, and then we got Mario to come up today. So I thought I was gonna be here maybe 45 minutes or so, and then we have Onibe to come up. Shout out to Onibe. I appreciate you guys. But anyway, so that's the news. That's the breaking news right there. The breaking news is that P. Diddy is acquitted of the main reason why they're trying to nail him, seemingly the count 1 racketeering conspiracy, not guilty. That would have gotten him a maximum, him facing a maximum of life in prison. Count 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, as related to Cassie, not guilty. That would have gotten him minimum 15 years. Not guilty, maximum life in prison, possibly. not guilty. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution as related to Cassie, guilty, maximum 10 years. They got him on that. This looks too orchestrated. Count 4, sex trafficking by force, not guilty. That would have gotten minimum of 15 years. So they really don't want him to be away for no more than 20 years, it seems, or something that they can. This all looks too orchestrated for me. I don't know if it is, okay, but the fact that last bit of this show where we're referencing back, shout out to the Tasha K platform, that professor lady referencing back to the removal of attempted arson and attempted robbery from this case or something like that, removing all that, that would have been easy to nail him, to get him to put him away, and somehow they removed that. Transportation to engage in prostitution, guilty, maximum 10 years. So now, as it stands, they are awaiting trial. We'll see how it goes. 10 minutes ago, there's an update here on CNN. Says baby oil sprayed into the crowd outside the courthouse. Wait, what? Some people gathered outside the courthouse after Sean Diddy Combs' verdict was seen spraying baby oil into the crowd. Remnants from the oil could be seen on the courthouse pavement. Combs' alleged use of baby oil during the free-ups or drug-fueled sexual performance was brought up frequently during his trial. Several of Combs' assistants testified that they stocked hotel rooms with baby oil. One of those hotels being Trump Tower. I'm not saying anything. No. I'm just saying they said it's that Trump Hotel. Okay. Asked Cassie Ventura to confirm the baby oil they used during free-ups. Large amounts of baby oil were recovered during searches of Combs' residences in Miami and Los Angeles in March 2024, according to an indictment at that time. Let's say it could be in the realm of time served. Combs' sentence could be in the realm of time served. CNN legal analyst says. This is what they said. They said it's possible that Sean Diddy Combs, who has been held in federal custody since he was arrested. Hold on one second. Let me not blur you guys out. Okay. Since he was arrested, could walk free today, according to Ellie Honig, senior CNN legal analyst. Combs' defense attorney Mark Agnifilo told the judge that following this morning's verdict, where Combs was found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, he should be released on appropriate conditions in light of the fact that Combs has been acquitted on racketeering and sex trafficking. And I quote, "Do not be surprised if at some point this afternoon we're seeing Sean Combs walking out those doors right there. If this was just some run-of-the-mill unknown New Yorker would had only been convicted of what we call the Mann Act of non-forcible interstate prostitution, he would walk today because Sean Combs has been behind bars for nearly a year. The likely sentence that the judge may calculate, he's probably going to be something in the realm of time served." He added, or she added, that with the most serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy are off the table, it wouldn't be all that surprising if Combs walked out of the courthouse in a few hours. The judge is expected to make a decision on bail today. Guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we go live. I appreciate you. Glamola, I see you. Baby oil, Astroglide prices about to up again. Wala. He will go home while they wait for sentencing. We shall see. I'll pay attention to it, and I will also hit you guys up in the backstage if there's any. We'll see what happens for the rest of the day. Thank you so much. Right now, I'm gonna go do some other businesses, and as usual, I'll be right back.
Girl, it's your love that I've been missing. I miss all your hugs, your touching and kissing. Make love on the floor, the couch in the kitchen. One love enough, we done enough.